He thinks he's untouchable, doesn't he? Walking away like you're some forgotten chapter, leaving behind the wreckage as if you'll be there waiting, broken and begging. But here's the twist he'll never see coming. When he turns away, you don't shatter, you sharpen, and Dark Stoicism becomes your weapon. Imagine. She stood in the doorway, her hands gripping the frame, her heart pounding as the sound of his car disappeared into the night. He didn't look back, didn't pause, didn't flinch as if her presence had become weightless, a burden so easily discarded. The space he left behind felt like a vacuum, pulling the air out of her lungs, leaving her stranded in silence. She wanted to run after him, to scream, to ask why she wasn't enough. But something stopped her. It wasn't fear. It wasn't even pride. It was something deeper, something raw and ancient that whispered in her mind. Stop. Let him walk. You don't chase. That night, she didn't cry. She didn't reach for her phone to send a desperate message or scroll through old photos for signs of where it all went wrong. She sat in the stillness, her hands shaking, her mind racing, but her soul awakening. There, in the darkness, she began to understand something he never could. His leaving wasn't her destruction, it was her liberation. And as she stared at the empty space where he used to stand, she decided to take the first step toward reclaiming her power, not with chaos, not with anger, but with the quiet, unshakable force of Dark Stoicism. You see, when he turns away, the world will tell you to fight, to beg, to prove yourself worthy of someone who couldn't even see your worth. The world will tell you that if you let him go, you've lost. But here's the truth no one talks about. When he turns away, he's giving you a gift, whether he knows it or not. He's giving you the freedom to rise, to evolve, to become untouchable. And in that moment, you have a choice. Do you collapse under the weight of his indifference, or do you embrace the silence and build something so powerful it eclipses everything he thought he knew about you? Dark Stoicism isn't about coldness or detachment for the sake of revenge. It's about mastery. Mastery of your emotions, your energy, your narrative. It's about looking at the chaos he leaves behind and refusing to let it consume you. It's about creating a calm so profound that it shakes him to his core, because he realizes the one thing he thought he controlled, your spirit, is untouchable. Let's be honest, the pain of someone turning away cuts deep. It's a wound that feels personal, even if it's not. It whispers lies in your ear, telling you that you weren't enough, that if you'd been more, done more, given more, he would have stayed. But the truth is far simpler and far more powerful. His turning away isn't about your inadequacy. It's about his inability to recognize the rarity of your essence. It's about his blindness, not your shortcomings. So when he walks away, you don't run after him. You don't chase. You don't scream into the void, hoping he'll turn around. You stop. You breathe. You let him go, not because you're weak, but because you are stepping into something greater than his small vision of who you are. You are stepping into you. Dark Stoicism is the art of harnessing that pain, of letting it shape you without breaking you. It's about turning the raw, jagged edges of heartbreak into a blade so sharp it can cut through any illusion, especially the one where you thought his presence defined your value. This isn't about revenge. It's not about making him regret his choices. It's about reclaiming yourself so completely, so unapologetically, that his absence becomes irrelevant. Picture this. He walks away, head held high, smug in the belief that you'll crumble, that you'll spiral into the desperation he expects. Days pass, weeks pass, maybe even months. He's waiting for the text, the call, the late-night confession that you can't live without him. But instead, there's nothing, just silence, just space. And in that silence, something shifts. Not for him, but for you. The space he left begins to feel less like a void and more like an opportunity. You start to see the cracks in the foundation of who you thought you were, and instead of crumbling, you rebuild, stronger, wiser. You're not reacting anymore, you're acting. Every decision you make is deliberate, every move a statement. Your silence becomes a roar, your stillness becomes a force. Dark Stoicism is about thriving in the absence of what you thought you needed. It's about becoming so rooted in your own power that no storm, not even the one caused by his turning away, can uproot you. He thought he left you drowning, but what he didn't realize is that you were learning to swim in waters he could never navigate. And when he finally looks back, and trust me, he will, it won't be because of anything you said or did to get his attention. It will be because your transformation is so undeniable, so luminous in its quiet strength, that he can't look away. But by then, it won't matter. Because by then, you'll have risen so far beyond the version of yourself he left behind that his regret will be nothing more than a shadow in the glow of your resilience. So, my queen, when he turns away, don't follow. Don't crumble. Don't give him the satisfaction of thinking he's shattered you. Instead, embrace the silence. Let it teach you, strengthen you, transform you. Lean into the power of your stillness, the fire of your determination, the unshakable force of your dark stoicism. Because when he turns away, the real story begins, not of your loss, but of your rise. If this lit a fire in you and reminded you of your unstoppable power, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content that helps you rise and thrive. Let's keep growing stronger, together. Number 1. Embrace the silence. The hardest part of someone turning away isn't the goodbye. It's the silence that follows. That crushing quiet that feels like an echo chamber for every doubt, every unanswered question, every fear you've ever had. It wraps itself around you like a cold fog, convincing you that if you just filled the void, said one more thing, made one last attempt, it would all make sense again. But let me tell you something powerful. Silence isn't your enemy. It's your sanctuary. It's the space where your transformation begins. When he turns away, the instinct to fill the silence is almost overwhelming. You want to call, to text, to post something cryptic that you hope he'll see. You want to be heard, to make him understand the storm he left behind. But here's the truth. The silence isn't for him. It's for you. It's a pause, a break in the chaos, to find yourself again. Silence is where strength is born. It's not weakness. It's not passivity. It's not giving up. It's stepping back and reclaiming your energy, your time, and your voice. When you resist the urge to fill the space he left behind, you take the first step toward owning that space entirely. This isn't about making him wonder or teaching him a lesson. It's about making the silence work for you. When you sit with the silence, you begin to notice things. You notice how much of your energy was spent on someone who didn't deserve it. You notice how little space you left for yourself in the relationship. And most importantly, you notice that the world didn't fall apart when he walked away. Stillness is uncomfortable at first. It feels unnatural in a world that glorifies action and reaction. But here's the secret. Stillness is where the magic happens. It's where you stop reacting to his decisions and start acting for your own growth. In the silence, you'll discover truths about yourself that you couldn't see before. Truths like, you are stronger than the heartbreak. You are more than someone's option. You are not defined by the way he turned his back. Silence doesn't just empower you, it disarms him. People who walk away often do so expecting a reaction. They anticipate your pain, your tears, your desperation, and when you give them none of that, it shakes their foundation. But don't misunderstand this power. Silence isn't about games or revenge. It's about protecting your peace. The moment you refuse to react, you shift the dynamic entirely. You remove yourself from the equation he thought he controlled. You make it clear, without words, that your life isn't a stage for his ego. And while he might sit in confusion, wondering why you're not chasing him, you're already using that silence to build something better for yourself. When the noise of chasing someone dies down, you're left with space. Space to create, to rebuild, to thrive. Imagine this silence as a blank canvas, one where you can paint the life you truly deserve. Fill it with colors that reflect your passions, your strength, and your dreams. Because while he's off living his life, thinking you're lost without him, you're doing the opposite. You're using the silence to find yourself. It's in the silence that you reconnect with who you are. Maybe it's the woman who loved to laugh loudly, to dance freely, to dream without limits before he dimmed her light. Maybe it's the version of you that was waiting for this exact moment to rise. Either way, the silence isn't empty. It's brimming with potential. And the only question is, how will you fill it? Here's the beautiful irony of silence. It speaks louder than any words ever could. When you embrace the silence, you're sending a message, not to him, but to yourself. You're saying, I don't need to explain myself. I don't need to justify my worth. I don't need to beg for someone to stay who didn't have the courage to love me fully. And yes, he'll notice. He'll feel the absence of your energy. He'll wonder why the texts aren't coming, why the calls have stopped, why you've gone quiet. But by the time he begins to question it, you'll be so far ahead in your growth that his curiosity won't even matter. Because this silence isn't about him. It never was. Think of the silence as a gym for your soul. Every moment you resist the urge to reach out, to explain, to plead, you're strengthening your emotional muscles. You're learning to stand firm in your own power. It's not easy at first. There will be moments when the weight feels unbearable, when the quiet feels deafening. But with every passing day, you'll find yourself standing taller, breathing easier, and realizing just how much strength was hiding within you all along. Silence teaches you discipline. It teaches you patience. It teaches you that your value isn't determined by someone else's ability to see it. And once you master it, you become untouchable. Because a woman who is comfortable in her silence, who doesn't need to explain or prove herself, is a woman who cannot be controlled. This silence isn't the end. It's the beginning. It's the cocoon where you shed the version of yourself that needed his approval, his attention, his validation. And when you finally step out, you'll be unrecognizable, not because you've changed for him, but because you've evolved for yourself. So, sit with the silence. Let it teach you. Let it rebuild you. Let it remind you that your power has never come from being heard by him. It comes from knowing you don't need to speak at all. When he turns away, the silence isn't a void. It's your rebirth. And when you finally emerge from it, stronger and more radiant than ever, you'll look back and realize the silence was never your weakness. It was your strength in disguise. Here is your mantra. My silence is my strength. Why do you need a mantra? Because in moments of weakness, when the silence feels heavy and the urge to reach out consumes you, a mantra anchors you. It's a reminder of your power, a declaration of your growth, and a shield against the doubts that creep in. Repeating this phrase keeps you focused on the bigger picture. It shifts your energy from reacting to reclaiming. Say this with me: my silence is my strength. Write it in the comments below. Let it be your mantra every time you feel tempted to break the silence. Let it remind you that your quiet composure is not a void. It's your power in its purest form. If this mantra resonates with you, like this video and subscribe to the channel for more empowering content. Number 2. Master your emotions. The storm inside you feels relentless, doesn't it? The whirlwind of anger, sadness, and confusion threatens to pull you under, making every moment heavier than the last. He turned away, and now you're left with the aftershock, a tidal wave of emotions that seems impossible to control. But here's the truth: emotions are not your enemy. They are your power. When you learn to master them, you step into a realm of control that few ever achieve. You become unshakable, untouchable, and unstoppable. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean suppressing them or pretending they don't exist. It's not about forcing a smile when your heart feels like it's breaking. No, it's about channeling every ounce of that energy, every tear, every pang of hurt, into something that builds you instead of breaking you. It's about transforming chaos into clarity and pain into purpose. Feel it, but don't feed it. Let's start here. The first step to mastering your emotions is giving yourself permission to feel them. You're not weak for being hurt, angry, or betrayed. You're human. Denying those feelings only makes them stronger, like a fire that rages when ignored. So feel them. Cry if you need to. Scream into a pillow. Write down every thought swirling in your mind. Let the emotions come, but don't let them overstay their welcome. Think of your emotions like waves. They rise, they crash, and eventually they recede. Your job is not to stop the wave. Your job is to ride it, knowing it will pass. Don't feed your pain by replaying old conversations or rereading his messages. Don't give your anger fuel by stalking his social media, looking for something to hurt yourself with. The more you feed those emotions, the stronger they grow. Let them rise naturally, and then let them go. Anchor yourself in the present. When emotions run wild, they have a way of dragging you out of the present moment. You start reliving the past, dissecting every detail, and imagining alternate outcomes that will never exist. Or you spiral into the future, fearing what's to come and wondering if you'll ever feel whole again. Both are traps. The present moment is your anchor. It's the only place where your power truly exists. When the storm inside you starts to pull you into the past or the future, stop. Breathe. Bring yourself back to now. Ground yourself with simple actions. Go for a walk. Feel the ground beneath your feet, or focus on the rhythm of your breathing. The present is where healing happens. It's where clarity begins. Redirect the energy. Emotions are energy in motion. When he turned away, he left you with a surge of energy you weren't prepared for, a mix of grief, rage, and longing. If you don't direct that energy somewhere, it will consume you. So redirect it. Channel it into something productive, something that builds instead of destroys. Hit the gym and let every rep, every mile, every drop of sweat carry a piece of that pain away. Take up a creative outlet. Paint, write, dance, sing, anything that allows you to express what words can't. Start that project you've been putting off, throw yourself into your career, or learn something new. Every time you redirect that energy, you're reclaiming it, taking it away from the pain and giving it back to yourself. Choose your response. Mastering your emotions isn't about controlling what you feel. It's about controlling how you respond. Emotions will come uninvited, but your response is your choice. Anger may whisper that you should lash out, send that text, or say something you'll regret. Sadness may tempt you to isolate yourself, to sink into the void of self-pity. Don't give in. Instead, pause, breathe. Give yourself the gift of space before you respond to anything, whether it's his actions, a memory, or even your own thoughts. Ask yourself, does this action reflect the person I want to become? Does this response serve my growth or my pain? If it's the latter, let it go. You don't owe anyone, especially him, a reaction. Detach from the external. When he turned away, he took something with him, didn't he? Maybe it was your sense of stability, your confidence, or even your identity. That's what makes his absence hurt so much. The belief that a piece of you left with him. But here's the truth. No one has that kind of power over you unless you let them. Your emotions are often tied to external validation, to his actions, his words, or his absence. Mastering your emotions means detaching from that. It means recognizing that your worth isn't tied to how he treated you or how he feels about you now. Your value doesn't decrease because someone failed to see it. Detach from the need for closure, from the desire to be understood, and from the illusion that his attention defines your happiness. True freedom comes from within. Turn pain into power. Here's where mastery reaches its peak. The pain you feel is not a weight meant to crush you. It's fuel. Every moment of hurt is energy waiting to be transformed into something greater. Use it. Let it drive you to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Let it push you toward the life you deserve. The one that doesn't revolve around his presence or his approval. Pain has a way of sharpening you, of burning away everything that no longer serves you. Let it strip away the parts of you that tolerated less than you deserved, that settled for scraps of affection, that doubted your own power. What's left after the fire is something unbreakable. That's where your transformation begins. Stand in your power. Mastering your emotions isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming powerful. It's about standing tall in the face of heartbreak and saying, I will not be defined by this. It's about choosing growth over stagnation, strength over despair, and purpose over pain. When you master your emotions, you don't just survive his absence, you rise above it. You become someone so composed, so untouchable, that even the storm inside you bows in respect. So when the chaos threatens to pull you under, remember this: you are not your emotions. You are the master of them. And with every breath, every choice, every step forward, you're proving that his turning away wasn't the end. It was the beginning of your rise. Number 3, focus on your growth. When someone turns away, it's tempting to look outward, to obsess over what they're doing, who they're with, or what they're thinking. But focusing on them is exactly what they expect. They anticipate that their absence will consume you, that you'll waste your energy trying to understand them, chasing after an answer that never really existed. Here's where you prove them wrong. This isn't about them anymore. It's about you. And the most powerful response you can give is to focus on your growth. Not for them, not for revenge, but for yourself. Because the moment you stop looking backward and start building forward, you reclaim the narrative of your life. Growth doesn't wait for the right moment. It happens in the mess, in the heartbreak, in the stillness after the storm. It's there, waiting for you to grab hold of it and transform. And that's exactly what you're going to do. Start by picturing the person you want to become. Not the version of you who needs their approval, but the one who stands tall, unapologetic, and radiant. This version of you doesn't just survive. they thrive. They walk into a room and command respect without saying a word. They live a life so full, so vibrant, that it turns heads, not because of who they're with, but because of who they are. Write it down, make it real. What does your best self look like? How do they spend their mornings? What kind of people do they surround themselves with? What goals light them up inside? Once you've created this vision, every step you take forward will bring you closer to it. Pain is a powerful force. It can drown you, or it can ignite you. The difference is how you choose to use it. Let every tear, every sleepless night, every pang of heartbreak become the fuel that drives you. Not as a weapon against them, but as a tool for your transformation. Hit the gym and let the weights carry the weight of your emotions. Feel your strength grow with every rep, every drop of sweat, every push beyond what you thought was possible. Take that pain and channel it into creativity. Write, paint, sing, build. Let your emotions spill onto the page or the canvas and create something extraordinary from the chaos. Pain isn't your enemy. It's your ally in growth. It's the reminder that you're alive, that you have something worth fighting for, yourself. When someone turns away, it's easy to feel like they took a piece of your identity with them. But here's the truth. Your identity was never tied to them. It's yours to shape, to mold, to expand. And one of the most powerful ways to reclaim it is to learn something new. Take up a skill you've always been curious about. Enroll in a course. Dive into a hobby that's been sitting on the back burner for far too long. Not because it's a distraction, but because it's an investment in yourself. You're not filling a void, you're building a foundation. Maybe it's a language you've always wanted to learn, a fitness challenge you've been avoiding, or a passion project you've been dreaming of starting. Whatever it is, pour yourself into it. Every hour you spend learning and growing is a step further away from the version of you they thought they could leave behind. Growth doesn't happen in isolation. It's nurtured by the energy you surround yourself with. Look around. Who's in your corner? Who lifts you up? Who pushes you to be better? And just as importantly, who drains you, holds you back, or dims your light? Now is the time to curate your environment with intention. Let go of the relationships that feel one-sided, the friendships that leave you questioning your worth, and the spaces that make you shrink. Instead, cultivate connections with people who see your value and amplify it. Surround yourself with individuals who challenge you to dream bigger, love harder, and grow stronger. Your growth isn't just about what you do, it's about the environment that allows you to do it. Redefine your surroundings and watch how it transforms your path. Growth isn't always flashy. It's not always about monumental achievements or dramatic transformations. Often, it's in the small, quiet victories that no one else sees. Waking up early to meditate, saying no to something that doesn't serve you, choosing to laugh when you could have cried. Celebrate these moments. Every time you choose yourself, you're reinforcing your power. Every time you take a step forward, no matter how small, you're proving to yourself that you're unstoppable. Growth is cumulative. It's the tiny shifts that build into a tidal wave of transformation. Honor every step of the journey. Growth doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, a journey, a commitment to yourself that requires patience and persistence. There will be days when you feel like you've made no progress. Moments when the pain resurfaces and tries to pull you back. But those are the moments when you dig in deeper, when you remind yourself why you started. Commit to yourself like you've committed to others in the past. Show up for your goals with the same energy you once gave to someone who didn't deserve it. Because now, that energy is yours to harness, and when you pour it into yourself, The results will be breathtaking. When someone turns away, they often believe they're leaving you behind. What they don't realize is that they're setting the stage for your evolution. Focus on your growth, and you'll become someone they can barely recognize. Not because of revenge, but because you've risen so far beyond the version of you they thought they could walk away from. Thrive for yourself. Build for yourself. Grow for yourself. And when you look back, it won't be with regret or longing, but with pride for the strength you found within. Let your growth be the loudest message you'll ever send. I don't just survive, I thrive. Number 4, guard your energy. When he turns away, it's tempting to fixate on what he's doing, who he's with, or why he left. That mental loop, endlessly replaying every word and action, drains your energy faster than anything else. But here's the truth you need to hear. Your energy is sacred. It's not meant to be squandered on someone who couldn't see your worth. It's meant to build empires, spark dreams, and fuel the life you deserve. Guarding your energy isn't just a choice. It's a declaration of self-respect, a vow that you will no longer pour your strength into empty spaces. Let's make one thing clear. His absence isn't a reflection of your value, it's a reflection of his limitations. But if you keep letting his shadow linger in your mind, you give him the power to keep draining you long after he's gone. Guarding your energy is how you take that power back. It's how you protect your spirit, reclaim your focus, and rise stronger than ever. He turned away because he believed he could. He assumed that no matter how much space he created, you'd rush to fill it. That's what his ego thrives on, your attention, even in pain. Every text you send, every moment spent stalking his social media, every second of your mind devoted to his absence is fuel for his delusion. But here's the secret. The moment you stop feeding the illusion is the moment it starts to crumble. Every time you resist the urge to check up on him, to reach out, or to make your presence known, you're starving the ego that once fed off your devotion. The silence isn't just powerful, it's transformative. It's where you find the strength to redirect your energy inward, toward yourself, where it always belonged. Guarding your energy starts with boundaries, clear, unapologetic boundaries that protect your peace. This isn't about building walls out of fear. It's about creating space for your growth. If he reaches out with half-hearted texts or tries to test your resolve, don't let him pull you back into his orbit. His breadcrumbs are not worth your feast. It's not just about him, though. Sometimes the people around you, friends, family, or even your own inner voice, will try to pull you back into a narrative of longing and self-doubt. Shut that down. If someone keeps bringing up his name or asking you to explain what happened, it's okay to say, "I'm not discussing that right now." If your own thoughts spiral, redirect them. Boundaries aren't just external, they're internal too. Imagine your energy as a bank account. Every thought, every action, every word you spend on him is a withdrawal. What are you getting in return? Nothing. The more you pour into a space that doesn't value you, the more you deplete yourself. And here's the thing, he isn't even earning that attention. He walked away. Let him live with that choice. Now, imagine redirecting that energy into something that feeds you, a project you've always wanted to start, a workout that leaves you feeling unstoppable, a conversation with someone who truly sees you. Each of these is a deposit into your soul, a way to refill your reserves and remind yourself that you're the one who decides where your energy flows. Guard it fiercely, because your attention is a gift. Not everyone deserves it. When people hear "guard your energy," they sometimes think it means shutting people out, building walls, or becoming indifferent to the world. But that's not true at all. Detachment isn't about coldness, it's about freedom. It's about recognizing that you cannot control others, only yourself. It's about letting go of the need to fix, chase, or prove anything to someone who chose to walk away. Detachment doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop reacting. When you no longer react to his absence, his messages, or his attempts to stir your emotions, you reclaim your peace. Detachment is the quiet confidence that says, I see your actions, but I won't let them define me. It's the ultimate act of guarding your energy because it puts the focus back where it belongs, on you. When you stop focusing on him, you create space for something far more powerful, you. Every ounce of energy you used to spend wondering about him, replaying old conversations, or seeking closure can now be redirected into building a life that excites you. What have you been putting off? What lights you up inside? Where have you been holding back because you were too busy giving your energy to someone else? Now is the time to dive into those things with everything you have. Take that class, hit the gym, write that book, explore the world around you. When you focus on what builds you, you'll find that the pain of his absence fades into the background, replaced by the joy of becoming the person you were always meant to be. Your energy is the force that fuels your dreams, your strength, and your light. When you allow it to be drained by someone who turned their back on you, you're robbing yourself of the brilliance you could be creating. Guarding your energy is a daily practice, a conscious choice to protect your peace and prioritize your growth. Every time you feel the pull to look back, remind yourself of this. You are worth more than the scraps someone left behind. Your energy is not a free resource for others to take. It's yours to nurture and use, to build a life so vibrant, so fulfilling, that no one's absence could ever dim it. Number 5. Reclaim the narrative. When he turned away, it might have felt like your story shattered into fragments, like the pages of your life were ripped out and discarded. The weight of his departure may have left you questioning the worth of your own narrative. But here's the truth. His exit isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of a chapter he will never be a part of. Reclaiming the narrative isn't just about taking control of your life. It's about redefining who you are and where you're going, without the shadow of his influence. The first step in reclaiming the narrative is understanding that you hold the pen. No one else. Not him. Not the heartbreak. Not the pain. The power to decide how this moment defines you lies entirely within your hands. He may have walked away, but you're the one who decides what happens next. You're not the abandoned, the overlooked, or the broken. You are the architect of a story so compelling that his role in it will soon seem insignificant. Your narrative begins with your perception. Stop framing his departure as your loss. It's not. His inability to recognize your worth is a reflection of his limitations, not yours. You didn't lose someone who valued you. You shed someone who couldn't meet your standards. Once you shift the focus back to your growth, your goals, and your dreams, the story starts to shift from tragedy to triumph. This isn't about erasing the pain or pretending it didn't happen. No, this is about using that pain as fuel. Every heartbreak, every sleepless night, every tear, it's all a foundation. Use it to build a version of yourself that no one can ignore. Let your narrative become one of transformation, not stagnation. You're not trapped in the past. You're writing a future so vivid, so full of life and potential, that the person he left behind becomes unrecognizable. Your actions are your words. Every step you take toward your goals, every win you celebrate, every time you rise above the emotions threatening to drown you, you're rewriting the story. Reclaiming the narrative isn't just about moving forward. It's about moving forward with intention. It's about choosing what stays in your life and what doesn't. Choose the habits, people, and experiences that elevate you, and leave the rest behind. When he left, he made his choice. Now it's time for you to make yours. You are not defined by someone who walked away. You're defined by the way you rise. You are defined by the strength you show in building a life so vibrant that his absence feels like a mere footnote in your epic. It's not about showing him what he lost. It's about showing yourself what you've gained. Freedom, power, perspective. These are yours now. Reclaiming the narrative also means owning your silence. It's not about retreating. It's about mastering your energy. You don't need to explain yourself, justify your decisions, or seek validation. Let your actions speak for you. Let the success of your transformation echo louder than any words ever could. The narrative doesn't need to shout to be heard. Its power lies in its grace and resilience. Finally, remember this: your story is yours alone. You don't owe him or anyone else a place in it. Write every chapter with purpose. Build a life so fulfilling, so extraordinary, that the person you're becoming feels like a dream even to yourself. The woman you are becoming isn't a response to him. It's a revelation of the strength that was always within you. This is your moment, your narrative, your power. Pick up the pen and start writing. Number 6. Let him wonder. Picture this. He turns away, confident in his assumption that you'll crumble, that your world will pause while his moves on without a hitch. In his mind, he's still the anchor of your thoughts, the center of your emotions. He believes you'll break under the weight of his absence, and yet, instead of chasing him, instead of explaining yourself, you do the one thing he never expected. You let him wonder. This isn't about playing games. It's not about trying to manipulate or get inside his head. It's about reclaiming your power and allowing the space you leave behind to speak volumes. When you choose silence over reaction, when you choose composure over chaos, you create a mystery he can't solve, a puzzle he didn't see coming. That silence doesn't just echo, it becomes deafening. Imagine how unsettling it is for someone who thought they knew your every move. He expects a message, a text, maybe even a long-winded explanation about why you deserve more. But instead, there's nothing. Hours turn into days, and your name doesn't light up his phone. He starts checking his messages, scrolling through your social media, looking for some clue that you're still lingering in his shadow. But all he finds is your absence. And that absence, it's louder than any words could ever be. Letting him wonder isn't about revenge, it's about shifting your focus. You're no longer reacting to his choices, you're making your own. Every moment you resist the urge to explain, to reach out, or to remind him of your worth, you're sending a powerful message. I don't need you to see my value for it to exist. You're no longer giving him the satisfaction of knowing he still occupies space in your mind. That void you leave behind becomes his to confront, not yours to fill. But here's the real magic. While he's stuck wondering, you're thriving. You're using the silence to build yourself up, to rediscover the strength you thought you lost. You're turning inward, focusing on the things that bring you joy, the things that make you feel alive. Every step forward, every small victory, every ounce of growth becomes part of the story he no longer gets to witness. And the more you thrive, the more he'll wonder. He'll wonder what changed. He'll wonder how you became so untouchable. He'll wonder why the person he thought would always be there is suddenly unreachable. And that wondering? It's his burden to carry, not yours. You're not creating this mystery to haunt him. You're creating it because you're too busy evolving to look back. The beauty of letting him wonder is that it puts the control back in your hands. You're no longer the one chasing, the one trying to hold on to someone who turned away. Instead, you're the one moving forward, leaving him behind to figure out what went wrong. And trust me, the questions he'll ask himself will be far louder than any explanation you could have offered. So, when the urge to reach out hits, remember this. Every unanswered text, every unposted lament, every moment of silence is a step toward your freedom. Let him sit with the uncertainty. Let him feel the weight of your absence. Let him wonder, not because you're trying to hurt him, but because you've finally chosen to focus on the only thing that truly matters, you. Letting him wonder isn't just a strategy, it's a declaration of your power. It's a reminder to yourself that you are enough, with or without him. And as you continue to rise, he'll be left to grapple with the reality he never anticipated. You didn't break, you built. You didn't chase, you thrived. And in the end, the only thing he'll truly know is that he let go of someone unforgettable.